Welcome to the January edition of Meteor Club Question and Answer. This month we have Shawn from Classcraft on. Also, you brought a guest as well. You want to introduce your guest?
Charles, he's one of our head developers here.
Nice. So why don't you tell some of our guests what Classcraft is?
So Classcraft is a platform to transform any classroom into a giant role-playing game. So the general gist of it is that teachers...
Welcome to the January edition of Meteor Club Question.
Right. Sorry, I had it open in another tab. So so basically teachers take any classroom and transform it into a giant role-playing game. So basically what they do is they run this in their classroom, and players, students, become mages, warriors, healers. And based on that, they gain access to powers. They're logging in. They're using the platform pretty much daily. So we can go into the specifics more of what that is if that's interesting to you. But basically, what we have is people logging in during the week for long periods of time. And right now, we launched in August. We're now in 65 countries. We have over 100,000 users. So yeah, we had to we grew up fast. It became we had to scale pretty fast.
Nice. So you said powers. Like I'm kind of curious about this as well. As a Warcraft player, like what kind of powers do you get?
Okay. So basically, the powers they'll have. Basically, it's structured. They play in teams, so it's structured as an MMO. So basically, the warrior is more of like a tank class, and then the mage is a bit of a DPS class, and the healer is a support class. And the powers they'll have are things that have an impact on real life. So, for example, the warrior can be able to eat in class. He'll be able to hand in an assignment a day later. He'll be able to have his whole team hand in an assignment a day later. So they'll have powers that have an impact on their real life, so that are really enticing. So it's gamification, but it's not badges. It's like having real life superpowers. And then there's powers that are related to the actual game. So warriors have like protection powers, and then so healers can heal other players, because the way kids level up in the game is by doing good behavior. So if a kid answers a question properly in class, they'll gain XP points, and then as they level up, there's like a skill tree, and then the flip side to that is if they do bad deeds. So let's say they do things like
miss a homework assignment.
Yeah, miss a homework assignment, come in late, then they lose hit points. And if they lose enough hit points, they can die in the game. So basically, they're working as a team to stay alive and level up and get these awesome powers.
That's awesome. So, 100,000. Whoops! I invited a bunch of people, and they're all jumping in now. I'm gonna eject some people. So, I'm curious. Like, what does your hosting setup look like right now?
Well, basically, our stack is we're with Amazon, so we split it up from normal. Well, basically, the whole thing is run in Meteor. We built it in Meteor, so it's not like a typical install. What we have is we have a C3.2x large for the app, and then we're running the Mongo database on a separate server, which is an M3x large. So basically the database server is pretty big, but the app server is where all the processing is happening. And so we're running that with just those two servers.
All right. Let me see if we have any questions. So if any of our viewers have questions, there's a Crowdcast link I just posted. It's crowdcast.io/e/JoshOwens13. Feel free to jump in there, add your questions, and we'll start answering them.
So basically, yeah. So I mean, we can talk about that stack a little more.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So that's the physical side to it. We're also we're using a product called Passenger, Fusion Passenger, and basically it handles things like process management. Yeah. So basically what we have is, I don't know how many cores that must have 12 cores.
I think it's 8. Oh.
Or 8. So anyways, the app, the game server has something like 8 cores, and we're running
32.
we're running 4 processes on each core. So basically, Node isn't set up for that. So what Passenger does is allow us to run separate instances of the app in multiple processes. So basically, on that one server, we actually have 32 instances of the Meteor app running, and so we're able to split up our memory usage that way. And so one of the aspects to that is that you have to set it up so that returning sessions, because it's WebSocket Meteor, returning sessions have to come back to the same process.
Mm-hmm.
So because otherwise there'll be like glitches. And so one way to do that is we're using sticky sessions, which is basically a way to have people always come back to once they're connected to a process, as long as that process exists, they'll always come back to that same process, to keep the data persistent. And then we're using Nginx to act as a balancer for that. And Nginx is serving all our static images. One of the things Node is not that great at is serving static content. So we have this Nginx layer that does that for us. That's for a lot of the assets. But then we're also using S3 buckets because users can customize their avatars, etc., so they can upload images. So all the user-generated content goes through buckets, and then a lot of those become future assets for different users. So in terms of traffic, what that represents for us is we have something like 12,000 sessions a day on the web app, but we also created libraries we forked an iOS library so we have a native iOS app and a native Android app, and the native iOS app connects to using the DDP protocol so people can access it from their phones. And then Shao created pretty much single-handedly an Android connector for DDP also. So we have people logging in through the apps also. Right now, Android is coming out on Monday, but iOS represents something like 2,000 sessions a day also. So something upwards of 15,000 sessions a day. And they're really long sessions because this is played out over a class. Mm-hmm. So classes last like an hour. So our average session time is like 10 minutes. So typically, like, people are logging in and staying for a long time. So that's actually in terms of scaling, makes for not atypical traffic, basically. Our front-facing website has a minute and a half session length, which is pretty long. But yeah, so 10-minute session lengths really adds to the overhead and the resources that it uses. But basically, we're not having any problems. Our login time, like if getting into the page when you're not logged in to the app, is like very fast, like less than a second. It loads up the whole app, and then once you log in, well, then we have a pretty complex publish subscription structure, and that's one of the core things you want to make sure you watch as you scale up, is to make sure you have smart publish functions using Meteor's publishing, because you can really quickly slow down. One time we optimized one query and basically dropped login time by half. So the publishing is really important.
Yeah, I often say it's like the heart and soul of your Meteor app. Like, if you screw that up, it's gonna be very non-performant.
Yeah, exactly.
And it comes out with the auto-publish. The first time when you create a Meteor app, by default, auto-publish is on. You have to disable that and
go
and publish.
Yeah, a lot of people just use auto-publish and horrible. So
Yeah.
yeah, so we have really like context specific publishes and subscriptions. So if you're in a certain section, um, you'll only subscribe to data that you really need. Basically, the idea is to set it up so that you only have subscribed to what you need. And we realized that even subscribing to things that would return empty values, like we would subscribe, say, we have forums. So you subscribe to forums, and then it would check if your class has forums activated, and then if you didn't, it would return an empty cursor. But even that adds latency. So
Mm-hmm.
you want to check on the client and make sure you're not subscribing to anything you don't need, even if it's an empty cursor, just because it opens up the socket, and then there's latency before all the subscriptions are loaded. And one of the great ways to do that is with Iron Router. We unfortunately started developing as Iron Router was developing, so we didn't do it this way. But in the future, we're probably going to go back and refactor some of the code so that we can, using route management with Iron Router, you can really handle subscriptions and wait for subscriptions to be loaded. We did it all manually, but Iron Router takes a lot of the hassle out of that.
Yeah, for sure. So my question would be, and this isn't from the Q&A yet, but you said that you are dealing with somewhere around 14,000 people a day coming in and creating connections. Like, how many servers and processes do you have total, like serving that, like Meteor app processes? And then do you have a rough idea of like what you can handle peak load wise, and like how high you've gotten at any one time with concurrent users?
Yeah, well, actually we do, because there was a bug in Passenger. So basically, I'll let Charles talk about the bug.
Well, we found out that the maximum a process can handle is around like 200 connections on our stack. So we currently have 32 processes on one server.
So 32 times 200 is like 64,000.
Yeah.
So and we found that out the hard way because there was an issue with Passenger that it wasn't. Basically, it was putting all the users on the same two processes and leaving the other 30 empty. And so Shawn made some contributions to Passenger to fix that. And then we saw that we were like peaking, and that was around 200 sessions on the same process. So now that it's properly like allocating the processes, we're really far from that, because at 15 we could go up like really easily to like 30,000 concurrent sessions with our stack, and I'm sure we would be fine. Mm-hmm. So
okay.
And then by the time we got up to 60,000 concurrent, then we would start seeing noticeable latency.
Right. But then you just add another server, right?
Well, and we can still scale vertically at this stage. So there's still like 3 or 4 stages where we can go upwards, and then we could just load balance across servers and stuff. Nice. So
it's a little bit more tricky, but it's doable.
Yeah. Meteor isn't necessarily made for that. Passenger really helps to be able to allocate that and set up load balancing and stuff. But yeah, we could typically, I think, scale pretty infinitely horizontally. And we have some, in terms of like database, we have some collections that have something like 4 million records. And everybody who logs in goes through. That's basically the history. There's like a game feed of what happened in the game, and everybody who connects pulls that one. And we're not seeing our login time is like there's like maybe 5 seconds loading at the beginning, and then after that it's snappy for the whole experience. So it's pretty good. Like there's no loading ever when you're using it, and there's only that 5-second load at the beginning where it goes and gets all the data. So but that's a pretty big database collection. I think 4 million is pretty
5
big.
seconds straight up for 10 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. The average length is 10 minutes, and people takes 5 seconds to log in. So
yeah,
it's cool.
All right, so the first question is from Paul Sainsbury. I hope I said that right. He asked, and I think I know the answer to this, but what are you using to monitor and measure the performance of your app? Is it Kadira?
We are using Kadira. We actually talked a lot with Renota.
Yeah.
That's one part, but we're actually using a whole bunch of other tools. We're also using Google Analytics. We hooked it up with Google Analytics with custom events to kind of see in real time what traffic is.
We're using Uptime Robot.
We're using Uptime Robot. We're using Monit.
Yeah, we're using Monit too.
Monit is a tool to basically monitors, when anything goes up or down.
Yeah.
In terms of performance, it's Kadira and Google Analytics, just in terms of seeing how that corresponds with traffic, and and then just logging into the server ourselves through SSH and checking it out.
Passenger has some great tools to monitor like how many connections there is per process.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. All right. I think I know the answer to this too, but we'll see what you say. Were you able to? This is from Matt Morris. Were you able to use the Meteor's client tool to generate your iOS app, or did you create it separately?
We created it separately.
Yeah, we made the decision originally to go native for two reasons. First of all,
Cordova wasn't out.
That integration didn't exist when we were doing it. It only came out in version 0.8. We started with Meteor on like 0.5, and so yeah, it just didn't exist. And we also just generally here feel that native apps are better.
Yeah.
So we just wanted to have a high quality product. So we've actually never used it. We didn't even test it. We just haven't used that package or. We don't really.
Are you guys using Objective DDP then to do the DDP from the iOS?
Yep.
Yeah, it's basically a fork of that.
Okay.
We're using the real.
Oh, we're using the real one.
We made some contributions.
Okay, so we contributed to it, and now we're using the real one. And based off of Objective DDP, Shawn built Android DDP. We're going to be releasing it next week on GitHub. And basically, it's the same functionality as Objective DDP, but for Android. So same thing for Android. We did a native app.
Nice. Okay. So the next question from Will Mitchell is: you talked earlier about building an Android DDP client. How you had to do anything on the server side in order to bridge any non-Mongo data sources into your Meteor app? I guess this is like integrating with APIs or something along those lines on the server side.
We didn't build any APIs. We used DDP. Like I built the DDP protocol into an Android app, and it works.
Yeah, it just really works. So it uses WebSockets in the same way that a browser would to connect, and it basically mimics all the out-of-the-box functionality from Meteor's DDP library.
The DDP protocol is like it's really easy to build it. It's only some JSON messages, so it's not that hard to build.
Yeah. Actually, we had more trouble with Android setting up WebSockets.
Yeah.
DDP was actually a walk in the park compared to getting WebSockets working.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Because of the SSL certificate.
Yeah, we use SSL also, so that's like adds another layer of complexity there.
Nice. All right. So now I've got a few questions here from Mitchell Wolfman. These are more about the product. So we'll jump into some of these. Have you had any trouble with students being something like, I don't like video games, and if so, like how does the teacher tend to deal with that, or do you guys advise the teacher how to deal with that?
Yeah, we have a whole bunch of resources for teachers. We do webinars. We have a huge help section. We have video tutorials. So basically, we're helping teachers all the whole way. We have a really vibrant community in our forums, built in Meteor, by the way. So teachers are helping teachers also. But basically, in response to that. So it doesn't happen that much for numerous reasons. The first reason is that kids get real life benefits from playing Classcraft. Like they see that they will be able to do things they would not normally be able to do. And for kids, the few kids that don't play video games, that's enticing enough for them to just learn how to play. And then of course it adds a whole layer of fun to the classroom. So kids they want to come to class and live an experience. Part of what we're seeing with the advent of the internet as a source of information is that kids come to class and they're able to have access to all the information available to them from their house. So why would they come to school? And the answer to that is that in the same reason that we're music lovers will buy a CD and then pay extra to go watch, to go to this show because they want to live a real experience. Classcraft allows teachers to transform their classroom into this one-in-a-lifetime experience. So, but there are still kids, because you can die in the game and get horrible consequences, like detention and that kind of stuff. And so there are some kids who are like, oh, I'm going to do poorly, I don't want to play. And they don't have to. Basically, Classcraft, well, teachers can run it however they want, but what we suggest them to do is to have it as an opt-in thing. So kids can opt in. Once they're in, they can't opt out, because if bad things happen, they have to stay in the game. But typically, sometimes we'll see like one or two kids in a class decide not to play, and that's fine. They come to class, the game happens around them. The game isn't about content, it's about classroom behavior, so these kids can come to class and not participate in the game. And they get all the benefits, the side benefits of their classroom. Everybody's more engaged, people are participating more, and so there's a better classroom atmosphere. So even if kids don't play the game, they still get benefits.
Nice. So maybe this is my question, but I'm curious, like, how do you guys get introduced to new schools?
It's just happening. Social media. Teachers are excited about it. They share it on Twitter. We don't go through schools. We go through teachers.
Okay.
We're not selling to schools at all.
So what age do you typically start at then?
Well, Classcraft is infinitely customizable, so teachers can change the powers, they can change the events, they can change the sentences, they can basically change most of what's in the game. So we're seeing it being adapted to all kinds of contexts. So, but basically grade 3 all the way up to university students are playing it right now. So a lot is at high school level, but we're also seeing a fair amount on the elementary school levels and then further than high school.
Nice. Yeah, I think both my kids would be super excited by this, so maybe I'll introduce their teachers to this.
Yeah, show it to them. We actually have some teachers who are using it with their kids to handle chores at home.
Oh, nice.
Brings the powers away from handing in homework to being able to, play a PlayStation an extra half an hour.
Nice.
And all of a sudden, it becomes a way to manage chores at home.
Yeah, that's interesting. We actually have a local startup here called Chore Monster, and they do similar stuff with chores. Anyway, we'll get back to the questions here. I haven't used your app, but this is from Mitchell again, but do you have plans to do cool things with animations?
We do. Right now, we don't have any animation in the platform. We have really kick-ass artwork, and so we're focusing on having that done before animating it. We have something upwards of 600 pieces of gear that students can swap out, like armors and things like that. We have something like 50 pets that kids can train, and we had professional drawers from illustrators from the video game industry who do freelance work for us. So yeah, we've been focusing more on static for now, but it's definitely in the pipeline, maybe next year.
Nice. All right. And then he had a second part of that question. He said, or maybe in-browser problem set based mini games for extra credit / bonus points.
That's coming. That's actually coming in the next few months. We're rolling out quests before April. Basically, we'll have quests out.
Nice. That's awesome. All right. Let's see. The next one. We'll take the last one here from Mitchell. Do the kids use this during class at all? I remember when I was in school, many schools had policies against using devices during class. Are administrators ever like, but if they can use Classcraft on their phones in class, they can use Snapchat on their phones in class too?
That's changing a lot, actually. Yeah, they are using it in class. A lot of schools are going towards one-to-one programs where kids have laptops, they have iPads, they have Android tablets. Every single kid, and that's being rolled out at different paces, but pretty much everywhere in the world right now. So it's happening in the U.S., it's happening in Canada, it's happening across Europe and Asia. So kids have access to the internet in class. Um, and yes, there are challenges related to having access to Snapchat or Facebook or whatever, but the benefits are strong enough that administrators and teachers are really proactive in terms of educating kids about what's right and wrong to do on the internet. And it makes sense when you think about it because you have access as a kid, you have access to all the world's information everywhere you go except in the classroom, which is kind of a paradoxical when you think about it. So yeah, a lot more and more kids, more and more schools are going towards these one-to-one programs.
Yeah.
That being said, you don't have to connect. Kids can connect to Classcraft and use their accounts in class, but you can run the game with your kids never logging on also, and just have the teacher handle most of the interactions.
Oh, I see. Okay. So they could use like an iPad and be doling out points and all that kind of stuff.
I mean, kids could log in at home and check out their character and stuff.
Nice. Okay. Okay. Awesome. All right. So let's mark that one done. And we'll go back with, we've got an answer that got really popular here fast. What Meteor packages do you use? And I won't put you on the spot necessarily, so you don't have to answer this. I actually just went, I don't know if anyone's seen this, but if you go to rank.meteor.com, I popped in game.classcraft.com, and it actually went out and grabbed all your package lists for you.
Oh, really? I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah. So Vinay Lacroyart.
Wait, rank.meteor.com?
Rank.meteor.com, and then you can put in any URL, and if it doesn't show up, you can add an app there. It's pretty fun. I was playing with it the other day. But you can actually see there's 50 packages and 10 collections in your guys' game.classcraft.com app.
Yeah.
So that's pretty
basically awesome. We tried to keep it to a minimum. A lot of the we obviously have Iron Router. We have some of these staple ones. A lot of them are related to localization also. So things like being able to translate dates, that kind of stuff. Where we have it in 10 languages, so that that's part of the challenge. And then things related to S3 uploading, so Nox, which is really handy. And then things we also have a bunch of one of the downsides to Meteor is that it doesn't really have a good command line. I know they came out with one in 10.02, but like
only a read.
Yeah, it's only like a read command line. You can't like run crons or stuff like that. So right now we're doing that with separate node scripts. So we can use different things. We use the Stripe package for billing. So yeah, basically like not that many things related to UX. We did most of the stuff on our own, just because we wanted to keep it as lightweight as possible.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah. All right. Mark that one answered. Another popular one here just popped up. What does your test suite look like?
It doesn't look like much.
Is there one? Maybe that's the better question.
Yeah, no, not really.
No.
It moves so fast.
Yeah, it just.
And we had to keep updates with Meteor because we started back in 0.5. So
yeah.
Yeah, I still feel like Meteor isn't quite there. I feel like it's still like another 2 months off before testing is a legit thing that people can expect to have in their apps. I don't know.
Yeah, we have a server. We have a staging server where we kind of just roll out the app and test stuff. But
Oh, nice. Yeah, it's funny. I've been working with Sam. He was on last month, and we've been working on a little app. Um, and it's there. It uses Cucumber in the back end. It's a Meteor app, but it's just made to hit your staging server, and you can put in steps. And we've got some pre-built steps there that you can punch in, and it basically just automate your own little end-to-end browser testing. And we plan to have some GitHub integration, so like when you update master, it'll just go run the tests against staging or something.
oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I just know about that. We would be interested in that.
All right.
We're only doing it manually, and we also we have a group of ambassadors, basically more forward-thinking teachers who are really into Classcraft, and we tend to test stuff out with them on like a limited scale. But it's basically manual. We're not automating in any way. But it was really, as Shawn was mentioning, like Meteor was changing as fast as us, and we were growing so fast at the same time that it was just like keeping up with Meteor was, a job.
Yeah. I totally agree. And I've always
get better teamwork.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like being a developer for 9 or 10 years now, my advice to startups has always been, when you're getting started, just test the golden path, right? Like just figure out what's important to your app and do some light, end-to-end or browser testing there, and make sure that crap works. So when you deploy, you're not breaking it. When the CEO's like in a pitch trying to get cash. Something like that.
Who is the guy deploying?
Yeah. I'm the deployer, so we're okay.
Nice.
I'm a developer also, so.
Nice. Okay. All right. Next one, David Sikora. I hope I said that right. When updating MongoDB documents, do you do the update on the client side with mini-mongo, which would hence mean that you're using allow and deny rules, or do you use method calls to do the updates from the server?
We actually do both.
Yeah, we do both, but most of it is allow and deny rules.
No, actually, we started out with it being a lot allow and deny rules, and one of the reasons we moved away from that was that because of Android and iOS, we had to have a way for those platforms to call. And then basically have, because we were with allow and deny rules, and then we moved to Android and iOS, and all of a sudden we were replicating client code. We moved a lot of it to
server.
Well, basically, what's interesting in my mind is that like there's a middle path which is actually using stubs, and that's what we've been doing a lot now, where it updates the client in the same way as you would have normal just insert right out of the client, but at the same time you have the server side, and so and that's pretty handy. Also, having methods on the server, it's easier to secure it also. But for things that don't need like hefty security or that are only on the web app, we're doing it all just with insert or just allow and deny.
Nice. Yeah, so it's funny because I still haven't found the code, but I went on a quest the other day to find the code. I'm pretty sure the mini-mongo stuff is it's just methods in the end. They're just Meteor methods under the covers.
Yeah.
They've just been wrapped up in a special way, so it's kind of funny when people ask that question. All right.
One of our, actually, it's interesting, mini-mongo has been one of our ongoing annoyances here, because I mean
you cannot do mass updates or mass delete or
applications
that are annoying.
They're really annoying for like migrations, things like that. We've crons like mini-mongo has been a real headache because of that. Basically, now we've been actually using Mongo on the server side, and that's one of the reasons also we moved some of the methods over to the server more, is because we're using straight out Mongo. So I mean, Minimalgo is awesome for the client, but it gets annoying to be limited on the server side.
Yeah. All right. So we'll do the next question here. Actually, I've got a question in Crowdcast and on the Hangout, and I think they're both kind of related. Um, Paul Sainsbury asks, how long have you been building the app? But then also over here, T.W. Brainer asked, did you have Classcraft as a holding project before finding Meteor, or did Meteor encourage you to create the project that would take advantage of it? Just trying to get into the thought process where you chose Meteor over other tools.
So basically, I'm a teacher and a web developer. So I created Classcraft as an idea for myself. And the idea wasn't to make a product. This was maybe 3 years ago. And I made like this really crappy web platform that had no graphics. And it was, one of those games from the late 80s, like Leisure Suit Larry in the command line.
Nice.
The face. And it was fine. I mean, but then I made a little website. A lot of people got really excited about Classcraft once I started talking about it. And actually, the day I launched that website, 130,000 unique visits came to the website. So then it became clear that people wanted Classcraft. So then we set out finding financing, and then so I had built it originally in PHP, and then we were looking at because it scales pretty fast. It grows fast because you have one teacher is typically 100 students. So if you get one teacher on board, all of a sudden you have 100 users. For every user you convert, you're actually getting traffic from 100. So I was worried about scaling really early. So that's when I looked into Node as opposed to PHP. And then as we were looking through Node, then Meteor came up, and I was like, oh, this is perfect for a game. And because Meteor isn't necessarily the best framework for every single type of project, but for a game where you need real time, that reactive magic, Meteor is just perfect. It was like, oh wow, this is going to take away so much of the headache of polling and recurrently fetching things at a regular time and all that kind of stuff to make games seem instant and cool. And you put one thing and it affects all the computers. That you need that to make a game exciting. So we hopped on board. Basically, we started developing at the end of November last year. So it's been 13 months now, and there's only basically 3 of us full time. Built the whole thing, including the apps. So it's surprising how fast we were able to do so much of that work with such a small team and so fast. And that's been one of the real boons using Meteor, is just the ability to quickly roll out functionality, be able to update it, and fix it really fast. And one of our frustrations with Apple is how long it takes to put in a bug fix. We're not having that with Meteor. Oh, there's a bug, and we just fix it, and then and nobody notices. But so that's really something that's awesome about working with Meteor. So yeah, 13 months that it's been in development. We launched a beta version in February last year, like a limited beta. So from November to February, we had a working web version of the game. Not as polished and everything as it is now, but functional enough that teachers were using it in their classroom. So yeah, pretty fast to develop.
Nice. All right. Next question. How is the performance on mobile, and what kind of tricks do you use to optimize for the mobile platform? I guess from a Meteor perspective.
Well, the performance depends a lot of your network, like every other app. But what's tricky is the socket. You always need an active socket. So if you lose internet because you're entering in the building, you're losing the socket, and you have to reload the app. You have to reload your data. That's the bad side of it. But
I mean, the good side is once you're connected, then it doesn't ever load ever again. So as you're using it, it feels really snappy and stuff.
Yeah.
It has the same advantages as a web app.
So one of the big challenges I think in doing mobile was also that you have to manually handle updates. So you have to listen for an update to the database, and then when you receive it, it doesn't automatically like update. For example, a player record won't necessarily, his HP went up, but it won't. You have to manually handle it through the code, as opposed to in Meteor, it just kind of magically handles it.
No reactivity, huh?
Yeah, exactly. So we kind of had to hard code it.
Yeah, we have to code that. But.
Yeah.
So it's less reactive a little bit, the native app.
But it doesn't work.
I mean, everywhere that counts, it's reactive, and then in some like back-end menus, like if you change your name, it will only like change it the next time you log in, for example. But like all the game stuff is all reactive.
Well, since it's a native app, so sorry, that was Mario Rodriguez that asked that, and Mario just wanted to clarify what happens if you disable the socket. But I think because it's a native app, there's no way for them to disable that socket, right?
No, they cannot.
Yeah, they don't have control over that.
They can only like disable internet, and they won't connect to the app.
Yeah. Okay.
You need the socket, otherwise you cannot use our native app.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess, and I still don't even know if you could do this with a web app in iOS. I'm not sure there's a way to disable sockets with Safari, so I don't know. Even with a mobile responsive app, that still wouldn't be an issue, I wouldn't think.
We have people connecting that are using like the Meteor's fallback, which is like long polling.
Yeah, Ajax basically.
Yeah, and that works fine. Also, it has actually more load to the server. We're lucky. We made the decision up front of, well, I did anyway. I decided that we weren't going to support IE at all. So people who want to play are actually using pretty updated versions of Chrome. So we don't have that many using long polling, but the ones that do, a lot of times it's Firefox and IE. Yeah, and people who decide to use IE anyways, and they'll be hogging up like way more resources than somebody on Chrome on the server.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if somebody were to make a large scale app, if they were able to make sure people had WebSockets, then of course you can't do that, but unless you make a decision like us, but basically makes your whole server a lot quicker to have everybody on WebSocket.
Nice. All right. So next question is from George Pickett. What CSS framework are you guys using, if any?
We're not using any. I did it all myself. We're using Stylus as a pre-compiler.
Okay.
So and then we're using Auto Prefixer and Bless as a post-compiler, and so we're not using Meteor's. We're actually using Grunt. We're not using Meteor's compiler to compile our style sheets because it was really slow, and that's as the app grows, I think that's one of the major annoyances we've been having on the dev team is that the reload for Meteor on development is getting longer and longer. Sometimes. And I think there's an issue right now where if you save a file and then Meteor is reloading and then you save another file, like it crashes. It goes into this node, shoots up to 100% CPU, and you basically kill the process. So anyways, so we've kind of...
Which version of Meteor are you on?
We're on 1.0.2.1.
Oh, okay.
We're on the most recent.
Yeah.
They were supposed to fix something related to that, but it's been worse since 1.0.1. But then we have a pretty large app, so then it's kind of, well, is it us or is it Meteor? But it's getting annoying.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're not using a framework because we wanted to keep it lightweight. We also have it's the interface is a game interface, so it's kind of we wanted to make sure it felt like a game. So we are using some pretty once we barred out IE, we were able to use some pretty modern CSS. So we're using Flexbox to handle React responsive, most of the responsive stuff for the app. The Flexbox model, which is supported by a lot of browsers actually, a lot of more modern browsers. So yeah.
Nice. All right. Mitchell has another question. I think he's very, very interested in this product. So,
Awesome.
in high school, I had a different teacher for each class. Do you make it easy to have students in multiple classcraft classes? If so, does their character reputation and progress follow them to each class, or do they manage multiple instances of their character from class to class?
Right now, unfortunately, it's multiple instances. So if a kid were playing in math class and then playing in physics class, he would have to have two different characters. Because we're a small startup. But by next school year, we're going to have we're working on school-wide integration and being able to have the same character with different teachers and different setups.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I would imagine like the issue there is the fact that like rewards could be different and levels and powers that you get can be customized. So
Yeah. So there's some things that teachers would be able to agree upon. For example, powers are related to the character, but then which actions give how many points. Those are really personal things for teachers. So they'll have to be able to customize certain aspects of the game, but then at the same time have some aspects that are kind of global to all the teachers using the same students. For us, it's tricky because it means restructuring a lot of how our data is structured. But there's also like an organizational challenge there. So we're working on it. Our plan is by next September to have that figured out.
awesome. All right. So Mario still wants to know what happens in your mobile app? Does it fall back to Ajax long polling if Objective DDP can't make a connection because of something like a firewall?
No, it's not working. You have to use a website. You cannot use Ajax on that. You don't have it all.
Yeah.
Okay. So have you guys run into firewall issues yet?
Yeah, we had some problems because website gets disabled by firewall. But we just told them, ask your IT team.
Yeah. It's been a bit of a problem. Like we had maybe like, I don't know, a dozen teachers report things, but that's pretty small in the grand scheme of the number of users we've had. And then we've been kind of giving pointers to their IT on how to fix it.
Okay, nice. All right.
We could have. We decided by choice not to put Ajax fallbacks. We could have, but it was a lot more work.
Yeah, we have to code it.
Yeah, we had to hand code it, so it was like, forget it.
All right. So we've got about 11 minutes left. We've gotten through 14 questions so far. Keep them coming, guys. So maybe we can dive back into the Mongo stuff real quick while we're waiting for more questions.
Sure.
You guys said you have one M3 large instance?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for the Mongo database. Yeah.
And so are you guys running like a replica set or anything? Do you have oplog turned on? Can you talk a little more about your Mongo setup?
Default on the earlier versions of Meteor, it was not on by default. But I think it's on now.
Yeah, I think so. I think of as of 07, year 07 as oplog by default settings.
And it really helps the app to turn oplog on, so you need oplog. We're using called the backup service, MMS.
Oh yeah, we're using MMS to back up basically in real time our database, which is a great service. It's made by the same people who made Mongo.
What's it called?
MMS.
MMS.
MMS.mongo.com.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And
Nice.
yeah, basically every 10 minutes you get a snapshot of your database. And I think it's free, right?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we're on a free plan. I'm pretty sure we're on a free plan. So it's pretty nice it just handles backups out of the box. Um, I think that's the guys who make Mongo. That's their cash cow is this MMS thing.
Nice.
I'll
Yeah.
get
So,
on a
I
free
mean,
we spent $1 so far.
nice. So, do you guys have like one primary and one secondary then, or what's that setup look like for you?
We only have a primary, and we used the marketplace MongoDB
Instance.
in Amazon. When you go on the marketplace, you can there's a pre-configured MongoDB instance. So we're using that.
We're using the one with 1,000 IOPS.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah, it's we we've been looking at load and stuff, and the database server is like
It's German.
it's fine. It's like it never goes up last like well, load is kind of a relative measure, but like it's never at like more than like 3% capacity. So we just haven't really felt the need to do that. A lot of the lag that we saw was when we were smaller server sizes was on the app server. The app server is really where
most of the processing happens.
So the database servers is really fine.
Because anyways, as we said, you cannot update. You cannot mass update records in mini Mongo. So
yeah, so the database never has this huge push of like huge queries. It only gets them one by one because of mini Mongo. So
So have you guys found that to be a problem? Because I mean, oplog is kind of this double-edged sword, right? It's replaced the 10-second polling mechanism, which is supposed to cut down on CPU load. But then when you're pushing out, like let's say, you've got 200 to 400 people connected at one time. If they're all doing updates at the same time, like each Meteor process has to slog through that oplog update, whether they care about it or not. Have you guys seen like big CPU spikes on your Meteor processes that you think might be related?
We have that problem. We're adding a thing that adds like EP to each student in the app, and this is causing some lag at midnight.
What actually causes this process to crash?
It crashes.
Yeah, it's when so mini Mongo doesn't handle mass updates, and so we bypass that by running our crons on node scripts. So we have one that goes on every midnight where we regenerate players' magic points, and so running that through Meteor, we originally had it running through a Meteor method, and that took like 40 minutes to go through all of one by one each player, and then the game was like spiked because it was going through this huge loop. And so we moved that over to Node, and we're doing like a mass update, like a huge, really fast query where the query takes like 2 seconds and basically updates all the players. But then the oplog breaks, and we actually have to restart all the processes after each cron. It's an ongoing problem for us, actually.
Which Monit does.
Yeah, Monit, using Monit, it automatically restarts the processes for us, so we don't kind of automated. It crashes and then we fix it.
Yeah. 5 minutes later, it's okay.
But
we have a 5-minute time every night.
So it's a little bit not perfect. You're right, but on the other hand, we saw a really strong speed improvement in terms of loading and subscriptions since we turned on upload. So I think the only place where it's causing like real overhead in terms of processes is when we're doing these mass updates. Meteor isn't really built for anyways. So yeah, there's really no way around it. We're still trying to figure that one out. You're right.
Yeah. Well, I know Slava. He'll watch this, and I'll just say, Slava, go fix it.
Please.
Please.
Way to turn off upload for Curio.com.
Yeah, if we could just turn it off while we're running the front, that would be awesome.
Yeah, that's interesting.
We would like lazy load players.
Yeah.
Because there wouldn't be any update.
I wonder, you know what you could do, and this would be kind of bad or a pain, I don't know, is like spin up 1 or 2 instances that don't have oplog enabled in the environment variables, and then run your updates and reboot your other ones. So then you don't have downtime.
With the polling, they'll get all the updates, no? Won't they?
They'll get it through polling anyways.
No, they'll only pull every 10 seconds for the data they care about. So, I mean, even though the CPU spike might be a little bit higher there, they won't be processing all that data coming down to them.
Yeah.
So, might be a way around it.
Easy money than do that. Let it crash on the keyboards, and there's not a lot of connection at midnight, so it's not that bad either.
But yeah, as we're going global, we have more and more. We're in 60 countries now. As we're more and more time becoming annoying to our Chinese customers. But we have this temporary fix on it right now. Like it's just we restart it. It's
all right. So we got more questions.
But
let's jump into these. So we haven't really talked about it, but what are you guys using to release your app or to like update your app? And then how often are you updating the app in production?
Well, we're running it up with we're using Git as a repo, and we're using Capistrano for deployment.
Okay.
Yeah, it's Ruby. It works really well, actually. So we had I have a PHP background. The guys here have more of a Ruby background, but we're using Capistrano. It works wonderfully, and and then we're also like we have Shawn to like handle all our environment, our instance management, and so basically we can just using Capistrano pull out the latest version. It pulls it right out of the repo. We're on Bitbucket, and it pulls it right out of the repo, the latest version, and pushes it to the server we want. We're still really in active development, so we'll be updating production almost daily. Yeah, maybe every second day.
Yeah.
So we're putting bug fixes, new features, all kinds of tweaking things. And we're doing it. We try not to do it in the day when there's a lot of people connected, but we found that even if there are, the downtime is like 1 minute now. So for us, it causes Nginx to restart, so everybody gets disconnected, and then they all get reassigned to processes through Passenger, and it takes about maybe 90 seconds.
Yeah,
it's not, but we tend to do it more at night so that less people are affected.
All right. Sorry, I was muted. They're hearing some echo from me. Have you guys blocked JavaScript in the console at all?
Nope. No. We use it all the time. I know, and originally we were like kind of worried about it because the whole security concern around that, and turning off JavaScript in the console is we looked at how we could kind of do that. I don't see how you could reliably do that. If somebody would want to run JavaScript, they could. And B, the server using deny rules and using server-side methods, you can basically handle all the security you need. Because and we're a hack-prone product. Kids want to add XP to their character. So we actually had a challenge out to students last year to see who could hack the app and add XP to their characters. One student found out how to do it, but it was a mistake in how we were handling button presses. So it had nothing to do with the console actually at all. But yeah, I have like hundreds of kids that tried to do it, and some of these kids are really good at computers. And yeah, so it hasn't been an issue since then. But basically, the answer to that is move everything that's sensitive over to the server and you'll be fine.
Yeah, good advice. All right, one last question. Are you using, this is from Will Mitchell, that last one was from Mario Rodriguez. This one, are you using Redis or any other caching type databases or software anywhere in the app?
Nope, not yet.
We don't have to yet.
Easy answer. All right.
We will. We will if we have to.
Yeah, but we don't.
Yeah.
One thing that we kind of had notes here. One thing that we want to mention to people to scale up easily is to use indexes. We saw huge performance gains by indexing, and it's kind of like the Meteor docs are kind of crappy about it. They don't really talk about it or show you how to do it at all. But you can. There's a property that's underscore ensure index, and you can index fields within your collections, and we saw a huge gain. Like login time again, like we have a pretty fast login time. It was slow for a while, but now it's that just indexing brought down login time by half again. So really important for people to. It's so easy to do too. It's like 5 lines of code, and it really makes a difference.
Yeah. I've actually got a blog post on my blog, and I've got screenshots of the performance before and after. So if you guys want to see how to do it, just go to joshowens.me and browse around and find the MongoDB performance post, and it shows you kind of the before and after shot.
Well, it's such an easy thing. We're talking about Slack and passenger and all these configurations, and you can get really easy performance gains indexing for zero effort.
Yeah, it was like order of magnitude. We went from like 20 seconds to 2 seconds on a lot of the subscriptions.
Same
ridiculous.
Same for us. Especially if you're sorting or filtering by complex things like dates and stuff. Like, it's awesome.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for coming on, guys. I really appreciate your time.
Thanks. It was a pleasure talking to you guys, and hopefully we'll have some presents at South by. Maybe we can see you guys there.
Yeah. All right. Awesome. And if anyone wants to know more about Meteor Club or what I'm doing, or find out about the next one of these, like go to Meteor.js.club, sign up there, and you'll get emails that update you about upcoming Q&A sessions and all kinds of stuff. Like I've been working on 8 Days of Meteor and the Mastering Meteor course. I've got a couple seats left in it in January, and then Sam and I are working on the testing class as well. And you can find all that information on Meteor.js.club. All right, guys.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Thanks so much for having us.
Yeah. See you later.
Yep.